So what we're going to be working with today is we're going to be working with simplifying radicals with a variable in. So that means something like this. You might have 16x squared. And what that's actually going to simplify down to is to 4x. So that's what we're going to be working through today, is how to simplify all that down. So to begin, let us talk about something we do know. We know that the square root of 16 is equal to 4. It's a perfect square. It's one of your basic facts. What we also know is it can be written a couple different ways. Another way it can be written is the square root of 4 times 4. That's also going to be equal to 4. And that way, when you see that 4 times 4, you can think about that as the square root of 4 squared. Alright, simply 4 squared. So taking the square root of 4 squared, that just means 4. So this right here, the square root of 4 squared, that's the key part. What we notice is that the square root basically cancels out that square, so you're left with the number underneath, the 4. So let's do another example like that. Let's say we have the square root of 2 squared. This square root sign cancels out this square, which makes the result simply 2. That's all there is to it. Let's do another one. Square root of 10 squared. So the square root cancels the square right here, leaving what's underneath the radical, the 10. We can continue to do this. And it's not going to matter what number we put underneath. Say we put 132 squared. The square root of 132 squared is just going to be 132. Now this is where we get into the new stuff. Let's not write a number underneath the radical, but let's write a letter, x squared. From all these examples, we know that the square root cancels out the square. So the result of the square root of x squared is simply x. We can use a different letter too. Let's use the letter n. Square root of n squared, simply n. That's all there is to it. So let's do another example with both numbers and variables and letters. So let's do the square root 16 n squared. So do your normal process. Normally you would break these up into two different square roots. So give them their own houses, like we say. So square root of 16 times the square root of n squared. Now what do you know about the square root of 16? Well, you know that that is actually just 4. And the square root of n squared, from what we learned over here, if you have a square root and a square, they can simply cancel and become what's underneath the radical. So the n just comes down. So our answer is 4 times n, which also can be written as 4n.